Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of fantasy romance, romantic fantasy, all of the fantasy and the romance. It's all there. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Tastes good. I'm out here a little bit earlier today. I got up, woke up earlier, went to bed earlier, trying to get back uh, in the groove. In the groove in so many ways. Today is Tuesday, August 31st, last day of August. Third, well, let's see. One of these things. It would be good if I figured this out before I said it. Second, end of the second third, approaching the final third. I wanted to say quarter, but it's not. It's approaching the final third of 2021. Ah, I think it's funny how many people in planning things for 2022 are accidentally putting 2020. It's like, oh my God, 2020 will never die. We're stuck eternally in 2020. Oh, sucking down the coffee this morning. Tastes good. So, So yes, yesterday I hit my existential crisis on the book where I started to work on it and just came to a screeching halt. Except it's not a screeching halt. It feels more like hitting a vat of molasses. It's like everything slows way down. And I started doing my emotional tailspin of feeling like the book is totally not working, that the structure is all wrong, that I suck as a writer. I mean, you guys, it's so funny. You start doing these things, and then I see like reviews for other people's books, where people say, "Oh, the craft is so amazing in this book. It's just such a wonderful book." And I think, well, why do my books suck? You guys, the head fuck is a real thing. So I realized that I thought, okay, well, let's take a step back, Jeffy. Take a step back and see where you are. And you know where I was? I was right at that Act Two climax, which lately has been my thing. And on Bright Familiar, that was when I stopped and started revising from the beginning. And it's funny because for those of you who've been listening for a while, or at least a couple of weeks, you know that I had kind of the half formed intention, which is never a good thing. Because half formed intentions just tend to go nowhere. But I kind of thought that when I got back from birthday vacation from Coronado Island, that I would go straight into revision. And that made a lot of logical sense. And maybe I should have done that. But when I got back and saw where I'd left off in this great climactic, in many ways, scene. And I thought, well, hell, I'll just keep going. So I did Thursday, Friday, and then that little bit on Saturday. And then I skidded to a stop, to a sticky existential stop. So I thought, okay, it's time. And I went back to start revising from the beginning. So I am now officially in revision mode. I think I made it through like 17 pages yesterday. I still have a couple things I want to layer into those opening scenes. And I've been thinking a lot about opening scenes. I mentioned this yesterday. And it's one of those things where it's funny for me to like be giving critique or advice to other people, which it's like, yeah, I totally want to be helpful and all that sort of thing, but sometimes I feel like, teacher's one step ahead of the student, if that. uh, i don't I don't know if my openings are very good, but It's a relative thing. Part of what got me thinking about this, a number of things. I mentioned yesterday on the podcast about doing the contest judging, where you read the openings, and basically you get, usually when you do that sort of thing, it's like the first 5,000 words, first 30 pages or so, because you don't want to have to read the whole manuscript. And there are some contests that do a few other things where they go to, like sex scenes or kiss scenes or banter. There was one that was banter for a while. Um, First meeting of the love interests, that kind of thing. But in general, you're looking at the opening, and the opening is always the test whether we like it or not, right? Because that's what you flip to when you're standing in the bookstore. It's what you read when you do the look inside the sample. Speaking of which, because I do the sample a lot on Amazon, I really do like the sample function. That if somebody recommends a book or if a book looks interesting to me, I send the sample to my Kindle and start reading. And if I like it, by the time I'm done reading the sample, I'll buy the book. And if I don't, I won't. And so, boy, there is that's a big litmus test. So, and I know some people get very scientific about how much of the book is previewed in that look inside. Excuse me. Our grasses and centipods are pollinating right now. So, centipods being things like Russian thistle, which is what becomes tumbleweeds. There you go. There's your botany lesson for the day. And it is an exotic. That's one of the funny things about all those that's so iconic of the Western movies with the big tumbleweed tumbling. Oh, there's songs about it. Moving along with the tumbling tumbleweeds. Um, it is an invasive species. It is an exotic. I believe literally from Russia. So says something, doesn't it, that the icon of the American West is actually a product of colonization. Anyway, we do pull them up. Although this year with the monsoons, it's difficult. And now I totally distracted myself with the sneezing. So, oh, I was going to say with Amazon with the sample thing that you can get very scientific about where that sample ends to try to get people to look at it. Myself, I have not done this. Some people get very into the whole hooky thing, and I don't know, maybe it would behoove me to do that, but I haven't. But so this is funny, and I'm gonna throw this up on social media too. I mean, this is social media, but I was gonna put a note about it because you know how you go to look at a book, and I do buy from Amazon. I'm sorry, but sometimes I don't. But most of the times it's easy, and Amazon pays the lion's share of my paycheck, so there we are. Uh, so I went to look at this book that had been out for a long time that someone had recommended and was talking about how beautiful the craft was. And I was like, why aren't my books that good? And I thought, well, I should probably read this book because a lot of people have talked about that. This is a really good book. And I never had. And I thought, you know what, Jeffy, go read it and study the opening. Because I do think this is one of the best ways. If you feel like there's something in your craft that you want to improve, you go read someone else who's doing it well. And so I thought, okay, I'll go read this book that I didn't really want to read, but everybody says it's amazing, so I'll probably love it, even if I'm jealous. So I look it up on Amazon, and there's no sample. You guys, there is no sample. I'm like, and I'm having fits. I'm like, what? Why isn't there a sample? What? They think they're so fancy that they don't have to have the sample. Everybody has the sample. And then finally, I mean, after a couple of minutes of like looking for the sample button and getting increasingly annoyed because I didn't want to pay $12 for the Kindle version or whatever it was. And I was contemplating actually getting one of the discount used paperback versions and going through this whole thought process. Do I really want to read it on paper? And and I don't even know if I really want to read it at all. What I really want is to read the sample, but there's no sample button. And then finally, my eyes go up to the top and it says, "You already purchased this book in 2015. Would you like to read it now?" And it's like, fuck me. That's been sitting on my Kindle for 6 years. 6 years now. Totally forgot that I had bought it before, but at least past Jeffy paid for it, so that's good. So I don't have to. But I was amused at myself. Um, it's that Amazon feature of telling you if you've already bought something is really just one of the best things ever, except that it does reveal the deep cracks in our psyches in not necessarily a reassuring way. I have zero memory of having previously bought this book. I just zero memory. And it was even on my TBR, and my TBR list is hugely long, right? You guys know I keep this in a spreadsheet because I keep everything in a spreadsheet. And my TBR is currently, oh, well, it's currently data filtered because I was looking for this author's book. Select all. Um, 327 books. And that's, yeah. So it goes, and that's actually not updated because I haven't been adding to it lately. I try to remember, but I don't always. I keep thinking, and I know you all feel me on this, that I should resolve to buy no more new books until I've read all the books I've already had. Already have. Ha 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 ha. Why do we do? We just don't do this. That's another interesting psychological thing, isn't it? Anyway, openings. What makes a good opening? And I have been doing some studying of this lately. You guys know that I am not formally trained as an author. Um, I have not gotten an MFA. My graduate degree is in science, and most of my um, learning of writing has come from classes with various visiting authors, and then also reading and trial and error, which I don't think is a bad way to do it. But I also don't have this kind of formal training in doing I don't know, the fiction thing. Fiction thing. So I'm sure I had a point there, but I'm not sure what it was. Anyway, I think there are some things about craft that can be taught, but then it also comes down to art. And it's like, why do some things work and other things don't? One of the things I've been studying lately, though, and I've been listening some occasionally to writing excuses, and they've been exploring the mice concept, milieu, inquiry, character, event, the sort of the major components of a story, and it's interesting to see how different authors use that. And I touched on that some yesterday because I could see how that grounds a reader in the opening of a story. Because the opening of a story needs to, I guess, primarily hook the reader, provoke interest, and then also cue the genre, cue where the story is going. And oh, and I'm sorry, I'm wrapping around finally to something I dropped before when I was saying part of this is why this is on my mind. It's not just the judging and so forth, but that I got my scores back on the RWA Vivian contest. And this time they like broke down the metrics into all these. It used to be you'd get just like one score for the whole book, which I think I kind of preferred. This one broke it down into various categories, and I don't know, seeing the different numbers on the various aspects was interesting, but I'm not sure helpful. Uh, but all of the judges, even the judge who gave me the best score, marked down on the opening. And this was for the Fiery Crown. And I was like, so what's wrong with the opening of the Fiery Crown? And of course, I don't know any more than that. I just know that they marked it down. And I know I've talked about on here sometimes that people talk about that that my books have a slow start. I see that comment a lot. Oh, it's a slow start. And so I'm trying to figure out what is what are they reacting to, because we go back to that same principle that if somebody tells you that something's not working, they're probably right. If they tell you how to fix it, they're probably wrong. Um, and a couple of my author friends have said, they're like, well, I don't know, because they're like, well, I don't feel like your openings are slow, but maybe you need to get to the action sooner. But then the flip side to that is if you get to the action too soon, then people aren't invested in the story. They have no reason to care about what's going on. And I think some of it may come down to genre expectation because, and Dorinda and I have been talking about this quite a bit, because she said that's one reason why she doesn't read a lot of fantasy, because the beginnings are so slow and she can't get past them. And I do think that, I don't know, there's a certain pace to it, maybe, that my openings are slower. And I don't know. I'm torn on this because I don't know if I want to change that. I don't know if I want it to be get to the action a lot faster. It's an interesting conundrum, um, and I can't tell that if any of my books, which are more popular than others, get to the action any faster. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure which of my books has what someone would consider to be the best opening. So I'd be curious, for those of you who read my books, which one do you feel like has the best opening, or which opening grabbed you and brought you in the most? So this is what I'm toying with. And so in revising Dragon's Daughter, I've been kind of looking at the opening, and I did get the comment from one of the people who read it early. It's not like the beta read yet. It was kind of the critique group, but they did suggest getting to the action sooner. And I was looking at that yesterday and looking at, okay, is that what I want to do, is get to that point sooner? And I don't know, I kind of want to establish some of this character first. So that kind of comes back to me doing the don't wanna. Um, yeah, so I can't decide, should I be ruthless about it and try that, just get to the action sooner, or leave it the way that I like it. And I saw something yesterday, one of those internet memes, but for once I thought it was actually helpful, that was talking about, that you write the thing that you want to write. And it's like, well, that there is something to that. You um, do have to stick with how you like to do a thing. Uh, but then we come back around to um, selling more books, reaching more readers. And I'm still kind of tickled by my nephew Brett saying, "But why do you want to sell more books?" And it's like, well, because I can't live on the grapes in my grape arbor, and there is a desire to. I don't I don't believe in the relentless growth, but there is always a desire to do better, right? To improve. So that's sort of where I'm at today. So I'll look at that opening chapter again and see what I think. Because one of the ways to do this, then, if you get to the action sooner, is then to wrap in some of that character after, which I could do. It's like, but do I want to? Um, I know, I'm just torn. And also, it's like, is third book in the series the place to do this? Which is another question. I had a, you guys are going to get frustrated with me. I had a great idea for a new secret project. Seriously, I do have an idea for a new story that I think could be super awesome, and actually, it would totally work with having action at the beginning, and it would be a great test of this sort of thing. So we'll see. All right, I'm going to go get to work. I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday. It was lovely having coffee with you in the beautiful garden. If you can see it behind me, everything is just so gorgeous right now. Um, I'll remind you all that First Cup of Coffee is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network, and you will find more podcasts that you love at frolic.media/podcasts. And I will talk to you all on Thursday in September. Follow, follow. You all take care. Bye bye.